Yo, what's up, guys? So, as the title reads, we're gonna do some Mike Dean inspired synth sounds. Now, you're probably like me. You probably watch some of Mike Dean's Instagram lives on cookups, and he does. There's a couple videos showing like all of his synths and stuff like that, and you probably seen the Matriarch sitting there, or him talking about the Matriarch. He is an avid Moog user, so he has a lot of Moog stuff. He does stuff for the company, demo videos and whatnot. And I remember just because like I'm a huge fan of his. Like he's an older gentleman still making like amazing music, and it just kind of like gives me hope. I'm no spring chicken or anything, so it's just always nice to see that there's somebody that's older still kind of rocking. But this is going to be loosely based off of his stuff. Most of his stuff is pretty, I want to say, simple. He's just a really amazing player. Uh, Most of the videos I've seen with him, there's little to no patching at all on the Matriarch. Um, I've seen him use the sequencer and the ARP, and for the most part, he likes to do uh, fifths. So he'll have, at least this is what he says. He only uses two oscillators, and then he has one oscillator as a throw. He sets that up, I believe, in Ableton, so that when he turns this knob, it's controlling the delay mix and not so much the frequency. Uh, I use FL Studio. I'm sure I could probably figure it out, but I think it's just as simple. Just to, if I want to do that, I can just turn this knob. I get it. He's probably doing 8 different things up on stage, so he needs everything like in a precise location. But real quick, I'll show you just a very simple thing that he does um, with a two oscillator. We have oscillator 1, oscillator 2. The first oscillator is on 8, and the second one is on 4. And he'll just take the frequency knob and bring it up a fifth, and sometimes he'll have a square on the fifth, but for the most part, each one has its own like little tonality to it, which is not. It's nice if I'm doing like some like quick runs or something like that. I mean, this delay is gonna make everything sound good no matter what. So let's just kind of do a little bit more advanced stuff. It's not really advanced because as long as you're just putting the outputs into the inputs in this thing, you can go crazy. But I like to try some different stuff. And one thing I was thinking about the other day was using this headphone out because I have a Korg MS-20, and I love putting essentially just feedback, looping the filter, or just the amp, just feedbacking like it's just a giant loop on the MS-20. So I was like, oh, I've never tried this with the Matriarch. Let me give it a shot. Well, I was like, oh, okay, so you need a certain kind of cable to do this, and it's nothing crazy. You just need a TS. I want to say a TRS cable. That means there would be 2 lines instead of just one. Will work because it's a headphone out, and it actually might work better. I have one. I just got to find it, but this will work for now. And it might only do, since it's getting some to a mono, I don't think it really matters. But you need one side a 1/4 TS cable to a mono TS cable. So you don't ever want to plug in TRS cables into the patching. It's not kind of what it's set up for. But so I'm going to connect this into the back here. And I like to just turn the headphone volume halfway just to kind of start. We'll probably end up having to crank it. But what I like to do is I'll plug this into an input on the attenuator just so we have some control over that. A little bit more control over the input. You don't necessarily need to, but it's just another way for it to, if I want to modulate it, I can modulate it with the CV in. So that's always nice. Alright. I have my patch cables up pretty high. Let me grab just a handful of them so we don't have to keep leaping up over top there. Some of them in each size. These tip-top cables, I suggest you. There's a few things. Let me just go through this real quick. There's some things that if you purchased the Matriarch that you're gonna want to have. These tip-top cables here, they're stacked cables. Awesome. They're really nice quality. Just get you like, 3 or 4 of them. You don't need a whole bunch of them. But you can essentially double the output of whatever you're using. So if I'm doing a triangle out into the filter and I want to double that signal, you can do it on here or on here. It doesn't matter. Boom. You got just double the signal really easily. There's another thing. I call it an octopus. But all it is a mult. You can, and the reason I call it an octopus because if you have a bunch of stuff plugged in, it kind of looks like an octopus a little bit. But it kind of does the same thing as this cable, just you get a lot more connections, or you can use obviously these. But anyways, let's get back to this patch. So we have the input going into, or the output of the headphone out going into the input of the attenuator, and we are going to just try to get a little bit of distortion here. So we'll go cut off in, and then let's do our output into the second one. Let's bring this headphone signal up. Cool little way to get some distortion if you don't have any outboard gear, or you just want to keep it all analog. And it's got a really unique tone. Like I've tried running this thing through pedals and stuff, and I can't quite get it to. I can get kind of like the tone, but like the depth of the distortion is a lot different. Another thing I like to do, which is a very simple thing, is the amp envelope. Since the distortion is really dependent on the filter, the more you kind of modulate the filter, the more you're going to get like a unique sounding distortion texture. Let's do the envelope out into the input of the other attenuator. And let me grab a couple more of these these smaller cables. And we'll go into the output into the mult. So we're gonna put, so essentially all this is doing is creating 3 more envelopes. We're gonna do one into envelope amount in, and if we want to get really, we'll do 2 pulse width modulations on oscillator 3 and 4. Let me bring this other. Some like Yeezus, you know, if you want that like hard. Like, what a great sound. What a great sound. And we haven't even used any LFOs yet. So let's kind of like just keep adding stuff. You know, normally I would just be done, and this is a really solid patch. It sounds amazing. I wish you could modulate this here. So let's do an let me grab another. Okay, let's double this signal, and so we're going to go from the wave out into the input of the attenuator, and then the output into the mult, essentially doing the same thing as we did with the envelopes. It's going to give us 3 LFOs of the same rate on here, and I'm going to do one into the CV in. So it's going to kind of turn this knob back and forth at whatever rate we have set on here. It's subtle, but it sounds good. And since we have our cutoff kind of taken up by like the distortion, if we still want to add some LFO to it, we're just going to use this mod wheel, and we can bring the cutoff up. And the reason I like doing it this way is because, one, it saves you from like you can still patch into the cutoffs, and 2, you can select it just like it's really a fast way. You can select 2 and 4, 1 and 3, you know, whatever ones you want to basically feed into. And if sometimes I like to do this, doing the sync in um, to the envelope end out. Obviously, we have the envelopes pretty much taken. So whenever I hit a key, it's gonna recycle that LFO. And then whenever you let go, it'll cycle through that LFO. And then you can come over here and kind of like I like the tempo sync. Now, we have been in the stereo low pass mode. Now, when you switch this to the left, we're going to get some more of a crazy sound. Because I think, in my mind, that this headphone out, it's mono. So whenever you switch it into series, we get a mono filter. So let's just hear it. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more distorted. Yeah. So, the greatest thing on here is the ability to modulate these attenuator knobs. Like, it just opens up so freaking much. I was complaining about not being able to modulate the resonance on here because it's really nice to be able to do that. There's just a lot of sounds that you can really crank into, but either way, let's modulate these CVs, but we'll do both of them. I have like so many different kind of cables. and they're all attached to my, what is that called? They're all attached to my camera holder, so that's why it's like shaking that way. Yeah, we'll do, oh god, I don't need a cable nearly that long. We're just kind of throwing stuff at the kitchen sink and seeing what sticks at this point. Just unplug that. Do that one, and we just kind of flop them up there. Let's do the triangle. I'll do this one here. Patch that I like, I will render it out into like a one shot, or I will take a picture of it. I plan on getting the software that you have to like email this guy. It's kind of weird, but I'm hoping that it's not a scam. It seems legit, but basically what it is it's just a software editor, but obviously you can't save patches on this, but you can draw like do the cabling at least. So I will eventually be able to upload an image and have it like up on the screen so people can enjoy the patches and do them themselves. What a gnarly sound, dude. Yeah, I wanted to try the paraphony, the two-note paraphony, two voice. Sorry. That's another thing that I kind of dislike about it. Like, I understand that it's not a polyphonic synth. It's just really hard to be able to get two notes to trigger. In a consistent basis, because if you're even like a microsecond off from hitting the second note, it just strictly cuts off the note. And I don't know if there's a way to change that. There might be. I think there's something with the unison or whatever, you can adjust it, but the way that it's set up default, but what a great sound, right? It might need some EQing in the mix, but I think for the most part, dude, you got a really nice distorted Mike Dean style lead. that's all she wrote, folks. If you guys want more, you know, more ideas or just videos, just let me know. Please, like, if you can, subscribe and like the video. That really helps me. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side.